This is James Page at the FTTH Congress 2025. We had a really interesting panel session earlier on, and I'm really pleased to say we've been joined by one of those key speakers, who is Ho-Shik Lim from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Thank you for coming and talking to us. You were talking about a really interesting and important part of everything that's going on in this part of the world with the development and the deployment of fiber, the financing side of things. Perhaps you could give us a little bit of background from your perspective on where financing is here.
Yeah. Now, as a multilateral development bank, the EBRD was set up after the fall of communism, really to support the transition to market economies. We're, of course, very active in Central Eastern Europe, Poland, and neighboring countries such as the Baltics, Central Europe, SEE, Southern Eastern Europe are very core to our mission. We very much value the fiber sector. Historically, we finance a lot of telecom operators. They moved to cable. Now fiber is really core to what we do. We've been active with large operators. We've worked a lot on CapEx financings in Poland in particular, but also in places such as Slovenia, Croatia, all the way into Serbia as well, where we worked in Serbia, for example, worked with the public sector, not only with the private sector. We've worked on greenfield financings, on brownfield financings, on CapEx financings and refinancings. Some financings also structured as a sustainability-linked loan. So have seen a broad variety of financings and sometimes also engaging with the public sector and trying to bring all of that together.
Now, some people might think that the public sector funding only comes into those areas where the private sector maybe won't go. So maybe thinking about the hard to reach, the rural areas, the last bits of the network. Is that true, or you were involved in other projects?
So we've seen both, and we've seen in projects which had limited subsidies or no subsidies. We've seen projects with quite a bit of CapEx subsidies. So a few of our Polish clients rely to a certain extent on CapEx subsidies for the hard to reach areas. Also, we've seen projects which have a large degree of market failure, where the private sector is not acting, and it's a project where we support the public sector. For example, in Serbia, the Serbian government and the implementation of a middle-mile fiber backbone network. So there's the whole variety, right, all the way from private towards the public sector, with some steps in between, which we have seen.
But one thing I'm really interested in, I don't know whether you'd be able to tell us more about it. We've talked here a lot about cybersecurity and resilience, network resiliency. Do you bear any of that in mind when you're making investment decisions? Do investors look at what their requirements on people to be sure that they're safe before you invest?
Sure, I think it has been it's very topical. I mean, we heard it on pretty much every speech today and every panel. For us, over the last few years, it's part of our core due diligence requirements, looking at the cybersecurity, the resilience requirements, making sure that the network is robust and resilient, and what are the pain points, what are the areas which might require further investments, and that we get comfortable from a technical but also commercial perspective.
Okay, that's good to hear. So this is the Central Eastern Europe event. Just maybe a final word. You're still feeling confident there's going to be more investment in this area, and we're going to see the further growth that everybody wants to see in terms of the development of the networks here?
Yeah. So big picture, I mean, Central Eastern Europe isn't broadly in line with Western Europe. It's maybe lagging, as we see in some of the statistics, by a few percentage points in terms of penetration levels vis-a-vis Western Europe. But broadly, I think there's quite a positive outlook. In general, also Poland has developed well, but also neighboring countries. But clearly, I think the market is you have to look at it on a country-by-country basis. There are certain gaps. And even in a well-developed market, there are certain regions which still have gaps. So there's a lot of role for financing banks such as us, but also commercial banks to play to fill the remaining gaps.
Perfect. All right, great. Well, look, thank you so much for giving us that little bit of insight. It was great to hear you on your stage, and I hope that anybody who didn't manage to hear that today has managed to get a sense of what you do. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, James, for the opportunity, and thank you for the FTTH Council for the invitation.